Thank you so much, first of all, giving an opportunity to take a session for your academy and as well as to getting an opportunity to interact with civil service aspirants. I am so privileged to be in this session. Thank you so much. May I begin, or are we expecting any more students?
No. We can start. The others will be watching the recorded session, so no problem in that.
Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, let me tell you, as Gautam said that today I'm here to give you an insight into certain concepts mentioned in the NCERT textbook, grade level NCERT textbook. So the concepts, the terms and all, we find it so familiar. We have come across these terms many times. And the purpose of this, this particular session is to give you more insight into it, and especially to take you through the NCERT textbook. My objective is to take you to the NCERT textbook, how it is mentioned in it, and then how are we dealing about this concept. Since we are familiar about it, what more can be explored under each concept? So my objective for this session would be to take you through the concepts like freedom, equality, and social justice. And even before I begin, I would like to tell you that if you have gone through these NCERT textbook, you may find it that the way this concept has been portrayed, or the way they have put it in this NCERT textbook, is that they follow a same pattern for all the topics, for all the concepts. So it's very easy for us, any person, to look into and get an idea about it. So first of all, they mostly begin with what it is, what the concept is. For that matter, what is equality, what is freedom, what is social justice. And the next, what they does is that what are the different aspects of it, what are the various dimensions of each concept. And then what is the importance of it? Why are we having those concepts? Why are we discussing about it? What is its need in the society? How important is these concepts in the society? And then finally, it will take us to a position where we get a much more better insight about these concepts. So my objective is even the same, to take you through this NCERT textbook and trying to get you a more insight about these concepts. So I believe we can begin the session. So the first topic which I'm going to deal with today is freedom. Yeah, this is the chapter in NCERT which starts with freedom, and then we'll move on to equality and then social justice. So when it comes to freedom, when we keep aside freedom, equality and social justice, they are, we can say that they are the two sides of the coin. So the treatment taken over here is the same. But when it comes to freedom, something which we are so familiar about it, the chapter is trying to give you a better insight of the concept freedom. So here, when it comes to freedom, we know that there are a number of people across the world who have talked about freedom, who have a different idea about this freedom, their own idea of freedom. So even if I ask in this class, you all might have a different perspective about freedom. You have your own perspective of freedom. It may, so when you here the chapter is trying to bring in all of these concepts which been said by all of these famous people, and what is common in it. Now, if I ask, even now in this class, you may come up with that, how simply you can define freedom. Can anyone say me what is your idea about freedom? And would like to answer what you mean by freedom?
Free will to do anything. Free will.
Sorry?
Free will to do.
Free will to do anything. Okay, I absolutely agree, Maithili. So you have the perspective that freedom is something that which allows us to do anything. So when that is something what is allowing you to do anything is that there is no barrier. There is no one stopping you to do what you like to do. Okay, so in the same manner, the chapter also begins by saying that freedom is nothing but it is an absence of constraint. That is what they're trying to portray over here. So through these famous personalities, they all have different perspective about freedom, which is all of these people are very familiar to you, right? Beginning from Gandhiji to Nelson Mandela, Aung San Suu Kyi to Subhash Chandra Bose, all of them give us a new idea or different idea about freedom. So to begin with Nelson Mandela, uh, so you are very familiar with him. He was a freedom fighter of South Africa, wherein like more than a freedom fighter, when you try to compare with the freedom fighter from India, Nelson Mandela is different. Why? Because he didn't just fight for his freedom of his country. More than that, he fought for the racial discrimination in this land. That's how he stands out when you compare with any other freedom fighter. So for the idea of freedom for him comes from through, or we are getting to know about his idea about freedom through the book Long Walk to Freedom. So in that, he's talking about his personal struggle against the apartheid regime in South Africa. So, and what he's trying to say is that he took a long walk to achieve this freedom, just to not to get rid of the colonizers in South Africa. More than that, his internal fight, or the fight which he had, was to fight against this racial discrimination. So that is his perspective about freedom. Okay, so all these things gives you an idea like what was the major social discrimination which the people in South Africa had to go through. And then moving further, for that matter, look at his personal life. To achieve this freedom, he had to spend nearly 27 years in jail. And that is if you just look into a lifespan of a person, the entire his youth he spent in jail. So that is like taking away the freedom of him. But he was through all these 27 years, he was fighting to achieve that freedom, the ultimate freedom. That is his idea about freedom. Okay, now you again, Aung San Suu Kyi, you might be very familiar with this personality, and she is from Burma, Myanmar. His story is of like, again, she is a person who fought against like what do you call, the military regime in Myanmar. So, so according to her, if you ask her what is freedom for her, she would say that freedom is something which is free from fear, freedom from fear. So the entire for similar to what Nelson Mandela had to go through, even for her also, she had to go through a period in her life wherein she had to fight against this military regime, and the entire country was living in the fear. I mean, it was living under the fear of like a, or she was going through a fearful time. So for her, if you ask, the freedom is freedom from fear. Okay, so that her life gives you a best example how she had to be in the house arrest, how she had to be away from her family, her children, her husband, just in order to get that freedom. Okay, so for her, freedom is nothing but like to be free from fear. And then moving further, now coming to our own land, when you talk about what do you call Mahatma Gandhi, we have learned all these in like from our lower classes, like how Gandhiji fought for India's freedom. So if you deeply analyze like what is the perspective of freedom with regard to Mahatma Gandhi, he would say that, like, as we all know, it is the path leading to satyagraha, achieving the path of truth. So for him, freedom was satyagraha, for and ahimsa as well as. So for him, it is satyagraha as well as ahimsa. If you ask what is freedom according to Mahatma Gandhi, and then likewise, now similarly, we have another personality who is also coming in the same context, just who is like Subhash Chandra Bose. If you have a look into it, what Subhash Chandra has got to say about freedom, you will get to know that. Like, I'm just trying to share it from the text itself. The wordings are very important when you closely analyze what is freedom for Subhash Chandra Bose. Yeah, here it is. Now, if we are to bring about a revolution of ideas, we have first to uphold. Can you find it on the screen under the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose on freedom? To uphold, to hold up before us an ideal which will galvanize our whole life. So the idea is freedom, but freedom is a word which has varied connotations, and even in our country, the conception of freedom has undergone a process of evolution. So according to him, by freedom, I mean all around freedom. That is freedom for the individual as well as for society. Freedom for the rich as well as freedom for the individual as well as for the society. Sorry. Freedom for men as well as for women. Freedom for all individuals and for all classes. So this is what freedom for Subhash Chandra Bose. So as a whole, and he also bring in this idea that in order to achieve the freedom of the entire society would be sometimes an utopian idea as well. So he very well knows that. Now, this is a major question which can be asked at this juncture, like why there is a constraint, or why are we not able to achieve the complete freedom? When Maitri said that freedom is something like which we are free to do anything, but actually, is that true? Are we do we have the freedom to do whatever we feel like in our society? Absolutely not, right? We don't have that freedom. Then what is that stopping us to do what we want to do in the society, or what we feel like doing it? There are some constraints. So this is the major concept when you study about the Indian Constitution. Also, it begins with these constraints. It begins by saying that we are not absolutely free. There is some constraints attached to our freedom. Now, the question is whether constraints are necessary or not. So when this question is asked, yes, of course, constraints are necessary. We do need constraints. Now, why do we need constraints? We need constraints in order to have a harmonious society, in order to have a just society, or sometimes in order to live peacefully, or in order to have a what do you call it, to interact better with the other people in the society. We need constraints. So constraints are essential, they are important. So to answer this question, why do we need constraints, it's very well written in the text. You can have a look into it. It very clearly says why do we need. It simply says that, like, as you can find over here, we see people around us ready to fight for all kinds of reasons. That is what we always see. That if you're just stepping out of your house, you may find that neighbors are fighting over certain maybe some border issues, or maybe we are fighting for water supply. We are fighting for many things. Even if you are trying to park a car in a parking area, sometimes it may cross over, and then you may randomly get into a fight with a stranger on the road. So all of these things are inevitable. They are there. All of these violence or conflicts would be there in the society. So in order to run a peaceful life, there should be constraints. And while we are trying to define freedom, we always try to focus on the minimal constraints, which is ideal in a free society, where we could hold our views, where we could develop our own rules, or maybe we can pursue our choices. So we are okay with minimal constraints, but not with the major constraints. We are not okay with it. So to begin, what is freedom? We may begin by saying that freedoms are nothing but the absence of constraints, not absolute absence of constraint, but minimal constraints, or minimal restrictions or limitations. Now, at this point, it's very crucial to look into one of the famous principle, which is called the harm principle. Now, why are we analyzing harm's principle? So, through harm's principle, John Stuart Mill, in one of his essays on liberty, on freedom, is trying to convey certain things with regarding to liberty. Now, this is a what do you call considered to be a crucial theory. Why? Because here John Stuart Mill is trying to tell you, or trying to analyze the freedom which we enjoy with two different actions. One is self-regarding actions, another one is other regarding action. Here it is. So it's trying to trying to introduce us to two actions which a person's go through. One is self-regarding action, another one does other regarding action. So according to Stuart Mill, very clearly says that self-regarding actions are those actions that have consequences only for the individual around, individual's actor, and nobody else for that matter. We are responsible for our action. So any action which is which concerns only us, which concerns only us, the individual, then that is said to be self-regarding action. On the other hand, any of our action which bothers another person, another individual, then it is said to be other regarding action. So here, John Stuart Mill very clearly conscious us or makes us to be very careful with regarding to our actions. Now, when it comes to self-regarding action, we don't have to answer to anybody. It's our business. So he very clearly says that it's self-regarding actions are our business. No one has anything to say on it. Absolutely, it's our freedom. No one has the right to question it. Again, there are wide criticism against this particular self-regarding action, which you can keep this in mind when at some other context you can think about it. Even when you just look into the freedom, how far the self-regarding actions may turn out to be dangerous, or it may even cause danger as well. But on the other hand, when it comes to other regarding actions, those actions are it may concern to other. So at this point, he is trying to say that maybe when it comes to other regarding action, so which are like any action which may cause harm to another person or in the society, that can be dealt in two ways. So the first way is that if the action is of a minor what do you call minor harm, if the harm is of minor harm, then for that at such circumstances the punishment can be of minor as well. Minor punishments can be given to at that particular condition. But on the other hand, if it is of a major harm, then definitely he's not advocating harsh punishment, but at least the punishment should be different from the minor harm. So, but he is very clearly saying that even when the punishments are given, it should not be it should not take away the freedom of the other person. Even if if it is of punishment, it should not completely take away the freedom of other person. So this indicates that how important is freedom to us and to anybody else. Okay, so if you got any doubt, you may please ask with regarding to self-regarding action and other regarding action. I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maitri. Okay, so this is what harm principles tries to tell us: self-regarding action and other regarding action. Okay, now again, so this is similar to what is negative liberty and positive liberty. When you try to look into deep into the self-regarding action and other regarding action, the self-regarding action can be said as a negative liberty, and on the other hand, other regarding action can be clubbed with positive liberty. Now, why does anyone know why self-regarding action is said to be negative liberty? Liberty can be of positive and negative. This is said to be the various aspects of liberty. Any idea why it is said as negative liberty, self-regarding action?
Sometimes it may harm society, ma'am. Some action.
Sometimes it may harm the society. Okay, fine. Yeah. So what you said is true. It may cause harm to the other person or in society, but on the other way, here again, this is a criticism which you can keep in mind, like how it is called a negative liberty. But now we are in an age where we are talking about absolute freedom. Then why the self-regarding action is considered to be negative, or why it is termed as negative liberty? It's something which we can think about it. But on the other hand, negative liberty is nothing but wherein it is said to be the choice. For example, this is a choice which gives us what to wear, and what to eat, or what to say. But everything has got its limitation. What to wear is absolutely, if you're going to school, then definitely you need to follow the rules and regulations in the school, which means you need to be in uniform. Or if you are in an official meeting, you know how to dress up to be in that meeting. So all these are there. But on the other hand, Negative liberty says that what it's absolutely your choice. You're free to think or wear or all of these are like said to be your individual freedom is said to be the negative liberty. And on the other hand, when it comes to the positive liberty, is nothing but like wherein there is state is involved, where a country is involved, where a society involved. You can't be always be in that self-regarding action. You need to step out. You need to come out of from that self-regarding action into a society where other people are involved. You need to be in coexistence with others in the societies. For that matter, positive liberty is equally important. It is very essential. So, so when you talk about negative liberty, it's purely says that over what area I am the master. That is the keyword over there. Do you want me to refer to the textbook? I can tell me this is in page number 27. It's very clearly says that negative liberty is nothing but over what area I am the master. On the other hand, when it comes to the positive liberty, it is nothing but it says that I govern myself or who governs me. So the idea comes like I am in a society, so who governs me? So what I need to do, what all things I need to be careful, or what is whoever is governing me, what is the responsibility of that government in order to provide me this positive liberty. So all of these comes. It is not just a matter of an individual, it is a matter of the society. So there are more theorists or there are more philosophers who have come up with this positive liberty. For that matter, Rousseau, Hegel, Marx, Gandhi, Aurobindo, and they they have brought in a lot of idea with regarding to this positive liberty. So according to, if we are trying to summarize their theories, what they say is that individuals are like flower, or it's like a flower that blossoms when the soil is fertile. So in order to enjoy our personal the negative liberty, or in order to develop ourselves, in order to flourish in a society, definitely that society needs to provide us with certain things. So it's very clearly says that when the soil is fertile, then and the sun is gentle, then the water is adequate and the care is regular. That means in that condition only a person can be said to be free. Okay, so summarizing that, the person must not be constrained by poverty or unemployment. They must have adequate material resources to pursue their wants and needs. So that is how it concludes. So it's not just talking about the personal liberty. And furthermore, I'll share it so that you will get to know a clear idea about it. Positive liberty recognizes that one can be free only in society, and hence tries to make that society such that it enables the development of the individual, whereas negative liberty is only concerned with the inviolable area of non-interference. As the basic difference between self-regarding action and the other regarding action, and it is very closely connected to the negative and positive liberty. Now, as we come to a close of this particular topic, the most important thing coming over here is the freedom of expression. Again, this is another thing like which often many times we talk about, and this freedom of expression is of much importance in the present time. Why? Because like as you can find that many incidents which are happening in our country and even across the world, many times this has been this has been what I call denied to many people, the freedom of expression. We can't think of a time like wherein like we are not free, we are not able to express ourselves. So this is very important. The importance of freedom of expression we have seen in the past many times also. Like when you have gone through many revolutions, you might have seen how people struggle to express themselves, how they were denied this freedom of expression. So how important it is. It is considered to be one of the fundamental rights, the freedom of expression. So herein the text discusses about various examples wherein many writers, many filmmakers, many politicians or many public figures, many times they were banned or they were denied the freedom of expression. So how far it is important? It's so like it's very clearly saying that it is not what do you call it? It is a justifiable constraints, but these have to be supported by proper procedures and important moral arguments. So it very clearly says that if you're banning something, you need to properly justify it. Why are you doing that? Or why it is being denied? So for that matter, freedom of expression is a fundamental value, and for that, society must be willing to bear some inconvenience to protect it from people who want to restrict it. So in this point, it's very important to look into what one of the volatile statement with regarding to this. It's there in the textbook. Please have a look into it. All of these are of high importance and something for you to have a deep insight into it. Somewhere at the end of the first paragraph, it's very important. I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say it. So this is beautiful. It's a perfect example how you can disagree to a person, even while you're not you're not agreeing to it, but you need to give the space for the other person to express their feeling. So that is what Voltaire is also trying to say. I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say it. Okay, so even though I disagree to you, I will protect you for the freedom which you enjoy. That is the freedom of expression. So that importance it has, the freedom of expression. And then there is a number of examples wherein how this freedom of expression was denied to many. For that matter, Deepa Mehta's movie Water, for that matter, many of her movies, and for that matter, Salman Rushdie, Taslima Nasreen, all of these people are perfect examples wherein they had to go through this, wherein their freedom of expression was denied. They were some of them were forced to be in exile, and there were many poets like Mahmoud Darwish from Palestine. These are some of the examples wherein they for what they expressed, they had to face the consequences of it. So by with that, we are very clear about it, that what is freedom of expression and how important it is. Okay, then. So again, when you're just deeply analyzing it, what is freedom? Definitely, this is how it concludes over here. By saying that constraints are important, they are of different kind. And then when constraints are backed by organized social, religious or cultural authority or by the might of the state, they restrict our freedom in ways they are difficult to fight against. So however, if we willingly or for the sake of the pursuing our goals or ambitions, accept certain restrictions, our freedom is not similarly limited. So in a way, they're trying. They're trying to convey that freedom constraints are important, and they are there to give you a clear idea about the real idea about liberty. So we started off by saying that freedom is the absence of external constraints. That is what when Maithili said also, the idea was that there should not be any constraints. But by looking into the deeper concept of freedom, we understand that constraints are necessary, they are important, they are needed for needed for us to enjoy this freedom in a better manner. So we have now come to realize that freedom embodies our capacity and our ability to make choices. And when we make choices, we have also to accept responsibility for our actions and their consequences. So which means that if we want to make our choices, which it needs to be right choices, to assess in a reasoned manner available options and shoulder the responsibility of our actions, how to build through the education and cultivation of judgment just as much as it is needed to be nurtured by limiting the authority. Okay, authority of the state and the society. So this is how it concludes. Even before I move on, conclude, I just wanted to tell you that through this chapter, you need to be clear. Again, the objectives are very clear, mentioned over here. When you look into the first page, first objective is to understand the importance of freedom for individuals and the society. So first of all, how do you define freedom? How important it is for the individual and as well as for the society. Then, looking into the aspects of freedom, So you should be able to differentiate between the negative and positive dimensions of freedom. And then finally, what do you mean by the term harm principle? So these are the basic things which we have discussed in this particular chapter. So next chapter is equality. Again, as I said before, the next two chapters, they are of same thing, which or in a way we can say that they are said to be the two sides of a coin. So when we begin with this chapter, again, what you need to note over here is that these are the objectives of this chapter. First of all, you need to know what is equality. Why should we be concerned about this moral and political ideal, or how do you define equality? What is the importance of it? And then next is, does the pursuit of equality involve treating everyone the same way in every condition? So we will be answering this question over here. Then, how may we pursue equality and minimize inequality in different spheres of life? And then finally, how do we distinguish between different dimensions of equality, the political, economic, and social? Okay. Now, just like I asked in the previous chapter, like what do you mean by freedom? If I ask the same question over here, what do you mean by equality? Can someone tell me what do you mean by equality? You often talk about equality a lot. We often fight that men and women are equal, all individuals are equal, all genders are equal. So what do you basically mean? What is the basic idea behind equality? Okay, can I let me put it? Just tell me whether it's correct or not. Now, equality is something wherein like we give equal treatment to all. Equality is a situation wherein like we treat all individuals equally, all citizens equally. Am I true or not?
Yes, ma'am.
It's true. Okay, Maithili, I'm taking your answer over here. Okay, so it means that we all should be treated equally. So is that the basic idea behind equality? We will find out. We'll try to get it. Now, when you talk about equality, equality is a concept again, just as like I said that when you talk about liberty, this is a concept which was taught when many revolutions happened in the past. These were the concepts we repeatedly talked about, we discussed about. So similarly, when you look into the history of equality, we may find that this is something which we have got from the various revolutions happened in the past. For that matter, to be very precise, from the French Revolution only, we are talking a lot about these concepts. We understood the importance of these concepts. We understood the importance of how the people should be treated equally. Now, for that matter, we had to go through certain experiences. For when it comes to India, definitely India's freedom struggle was one among the such experiences where we got an insight to all of these concepts. For that matter, equality is also comes in the same manner. When we realize that the Britishers are, or the colonizers are not treating us equally, or there is a distinction between them and us. That is a point wherein we got this realization. So likewise, when you look into the all parts of the world, there is one another experience which they have gone through wherein they got this idea, or wherein they got more idea about this concept of equality. So to answer this question, like what equality means, what does it imply? Does it mean that, as Maithili agreed to my statement by saying that all individuals should be treated equally? Is it really true or not? Something which we need to really look into. So, well, even before that, just going through these sentences over here, what does it imply? What does equality imply? The last paragraph over there. What does equality imply? Since we are different in many obvious ways, what does it mean to say that we are equal? What are we trying to achieve through the ideal of equality? Are we trying to eliminate all differences of income and status? In other words, what kind of equality are we pursuing, and for whom? Some other questions that have been raised regarding the concept of equality, which we will consider here are: to promote equality, should we always treat all persons in exactly the same way? That is a question which you need to ask. How should a society decide which differences of treatment or reward are acceptable and which are not? Also, what kind of policies should we pursue to try and make the society more egalitarian? Now, this concept of egalitarian is something like highly important. How can we treat all in the same way? Can we do that? How can we do that? So by looking into various examples, or by looking into just by having a look into what is happening around us, we have understood that it's not possible to treat all of them equally. Now, best example is like something which I often try to tell my students also. There is a famous picture of showing what is equality and what is equity. I'm sorry, I'm not able to, I don't have that picture right now over here. The scenario is saying, you might have definitely gone through this, that wherein three boys are trying to watch a match, and they are watching the match from the other side of the wall. So all the three boys are of different heights. So the boy who's taller is able to watch the match very clearly, but on the other hand, the other boy, which is a little shorter than the other one, is struggling to watch by just leaning above the wall. And the third boy is very short and he's not at all able to watch the match. So how can we help them out? So if is according to by the statement that if you're providing equal treatment, if you're trying to treat them equally, then we may provide some a stool or something so that they can climb over it and watch the match. But will it meet the purpose or not? That is the question. So in order to address this issue, there is another, I mean, as an answer to it, there is another picture shown over there wherein like, according to their height, different size of stools have been provided to them so that even the shorter child can watch the match clearly. So that is the best answer to it. Best answer to the question that can all of us be treated equally? Now, we live in a society with lots of differences, different in what you call ability, or different in what you call economic status wise, if you just look into it. Social differences are there, religious differences are there. So we live in lot of differences, especially our country, India. So at this point, it's very important while you analyze the concept of equality. It doesn't just mean to treat all the people equally. It is to, we need to think more about it. We need to think beyond it. So to answer this question, it's not to treat them equally, but more than that. Coming to the next part of the chapter. However, treating people with equal respect need not mean always treating them in an individual way. No society treats all its members in exactly the same way under all conditions. That is absolutely true. The smooth functioning of society requires division of work and functions, and people often enjoy different status and rewards on account of it. That is true, right? No society, no utopian, not even an utopian society would treat all the people equally. There would be differences. For that matter, if you just look into India, so like there are people who are taking up the role of various, taking up official roles in India. So for that matter, all of us are not treated equally. Not the DIG of the state, or for that matter, president of the country is not treated equally like any other citizen. There are differences. So here also you can find that there are differences. And for that instance, we usually do not feel that giving prime minister, this is the best example. For instance, we usually do not feel that giving prime ministers or army generals a special official rank and status goes against the notion of equality, provided their privileges are not misused. That is very important. But some other kinds of inequalities may seem unjust. For instance, if a child born in a slum is denied nutritious food or good education through no fault of his or her own, it may appear unfair to us. So in order to understand that, so these are the two circumstances or two different situations. But on the other hand, the commitment to the ideal of equality does not imply, which is very important. The last paragraph over here, in the first paragraph, last sentence, the commitment to the ideal of equality does not imply the elimination of all forms of differences. It merely suggests that the treatment we receive and the opportunities we enjoy must not be predetermined by birth or social circumstances. That is the perfect explanation for this. how can we or it should not be based on any of these birth privileges. Absolutely, it should not be. Then, how it should be? How can we address this concept of equality? So here it has been suggested that one way of looking into it is by providing equal opportunities or equality of opportunities. Now, equality of opportunity is nothing but that is what from the beginning of the chapter we were talking, like providing equal opportunity irrespectively. So the concept of equality implies that all people as human beings are entitled to the same rights and opportunities over here, opportunities to develop their skills and talents and to pursue their goals and ambitions. So this is what I said in the beginning. This is the simplest way of explaining equality, simply by providing everything equally. So that is one way of addressing this concept. Now, what is then the other way of addressing it? Other way of addressing is like by looking into the next thing, natural and social inequalities. Now, again, I have a question over here. Like, what do you mean by natural and social inequality? Can someone again come up with the answer very quickly? What do you mean by natural inequality and social inequality? Natural inequality is, can I get a response?
Ma'am, I'm not sure about natural inequality, but I'll tell about social inequality. It's
Hmm.
regarding caste system, that social status, like rich and poor kind of thing.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Very good. Those are socially constructed, isn't it? Very good, Michael. Thank you for the response. Now, natural inequality is very simple. Natural inequality is that I am a woman and then Gautam is a male person, and then could be like I might be shorter, someone would be taller. So all of these are natural inequality. So there is a say there's a statement that natural inequalities can't be changed or we can't alter it. Okay, but again there is a criticism in the present day, anything is possible, right? All of these natural inequalities can also be altered, but otherwise natural inequality, according to the theorists, it said that it can't be changed. This is something fixed, we can't even touch upon it. On the other hand, when Maithili very rightly said that social inequality is nothing but that are socially constructed, and then that is something we need to address with seriousness, like how to address the social inequality. Natural inequalities are considered to be the result of the different characteristics and abilities with which people are born. It is generally assumed that natural differences cannot be altered. Again, there is a criticism, as I said. But on the other hand, social inequalities, on the other hand, are those created by the society. So certain societies may, for instance, value those who perform intellectual work over those who do manual work and reward them differently. So there is a differential treatment. They may treat differently people of different race or color or gender or caste. So differences of this kind reflect the values of a society, and some of them, these may certainly appear to us to be unjust. So it's very crucial for us to look into it differently, okay, or how to address this with much seriousness. And for that matter, for many for many ages, like we have seen that how the women gender was considered to be a weaker sex, or considered to be weak in the society. For that matter, like many things were denied to women, for that matter, education, going out of the house or pursuing any job. All of these were denied, and that there was a time when this difference was considered to be natural. But as we evolved, as we have gone through many experiences, we understood that it is no more a natural thing, it is socially constructed. In the same manner, as Maithili pointed out, the caste difference, that there was a time when that was considered to be a natural inequality, but over the time we understood that that is not no more a natural inequality, it is a socially constructed inequality. So all of these need to be looked into with much seriousness. So, and when it comes to, like, when you talk about the natural inequality, many things, even now, even which we consider now as natural inequality, there would be a time when we may change that as well, where we may have another realization which that even that can be altered. So this is something which you need to keep in mind with regarding to these inequalities. Okay. Now, next we are going to the various dimensions, the three dimensions of equality. Just like we looked into the various aspects of freedom, here also we are trying to look into the three dimensions of equality. So while looking into equality, we are looking into the political aspect, we are looking into the social aspect, we are looking into the economic aspect. As the name indicates, is very evident. We are very familiar with this political equality. We are familiar with our political rights. So here, there's nothing new, just it's reinforcing what is political equality. So as you have already gone through this many times, you have a better idea about it. Like, it is nothing but it's providing us with the basic rights, such as the right to vote, freedom of expression, movement and association, and freedom of belief. And then these are rights which are considered necessary to enable citizens to develop themselves and participate in the affairs of the state. So anything and everything regarding to the state, with regarding to our political right, we all need to be treated equally. There should not be any kind of discrimination. There should not be any kind of injustice in that case. So even then, like if you're looking into the legal aspects of it, there would be certain loopholes, or there would be some limitations to this right as well. Like for that matter, someone in the is imprisoned, they are not entitled to all of these rights. But apart from that, when you just keep that aside, all should be treated equally. Okay, so they are legal rights guaranteed by the Constitution. That is very important. This is something which has been guaranteed by the Constitution and laws. And considerable inequality can exist even in countries which grant equal rights to all citizens. So inequalities are entitled to happen, and then it is the responsibility of the individual and the citizen to pinpoint that, to address that. Okay, so for this reason, a demand is often made for equal opportunities or for a level playing field, but we should remember that although political and legal equality by itself may not be sufficient to build a just and egalitarian society. So it's more than that. It's not by providing an egalitarian society, everything would be fine. We need to address the inequalities also in the society. Okay, so that is with regarding to the political equality. Now moving on to the social equality. Now this is an area like wherein like of course all will be like addressing the political equality very well. But when it comes to the social equality, this is an area which needs much more attention, which needs to be dealt with much more care. Why? Because in a country like India, as I said, that there are a number of inequalities. So how to address it, how to tackle it, or how to bring in the disparity in the society, bring down the disparity in the society. These are certain areas need to be looked into with much care. Okay, now, so what exactly it is? So the pursuit of equality requires that people belonging to different groups and communities also have a fair and equal chance to compete for those goods and opportunities. So for this, it is necessary to minimize the effects of social and economic inequalities and guarantee certain minimum conditions of life to all members of the society, which is very important. Adequate healthcare, the opportunity for good education, adequate nourishment, and a minimum wage, among other things. So in the absence of such facilities, it is exceedingly difficult for all the members of the society to compete on equal terms. So if we are not providing the basics necessity, and then we are talking about equality, then definitely it is not an egalitarian society. We need to look into, address the differences in the society, and accordingly we have to act. So there is a one particular example provided over here, which is like women, for instance, the last paragraph, may not enjoy equal rights of inheritance in some groups, or they may be social prohibitions regarding their taking part in certain kinds of activities, or they may even be discouraged from going in for higher education. So these are certain things to be addressed. So this is one particular example wherein like people are not treated equally. I mean, wherein then you can find that social inequality in the society. Okay, and then moving further to the economic equality. Now, this is an area which needs of, again, just like I said, of social equality. This is another area which needs to be dealt with much care. So, economic equality. Now, again, if you take the example of India, you may find that India is a country wherein the richest people in the world also would be from India, and also if we look into the poverty rate, India would be in the among the first few position. So this clearly says that the economic disparity we are facing, the richest people and the most poor people also from the same country. So how to bring in an equality in it, how to bring down this. So this is something which need to be dealt with much care. Here in addressing this particular issue, we are being taken to various examples and as well as various theories through which we'll try to get a better idea about this what do you call economic equality. So the first major theory which we are trying to deal with is with the Marxism and liberalism. Now, I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with Karl Marx and the theory of Marxism. So Marxism is nothing but like wherein Karl Marx is trying to say that the economic disparity is mainly because of the most of the resources are in the hands of the rich people. And that is a one what do you call one major um, obstacle in front of attaining this economic equality. So just going through his words, Marx was an important 19th century thinker who argued that the root cause of entrenched inequality was private ownership of important economic resources such as oil, land, or forests, as well as other forms of property. So he pointed out that such private ownership did not only make the class of owners wealthy, it also gave them political power. So, through the theory of Marxism, what he pointed out is that break this economic hierarchy and bring down and bring in an egalitarian society where the resources will be owned by the working class. That was the idea given by Marx over there. On the other hand, you may find that there were people who were in support of liberalism. Liberalism actually is a threat to this what do you call egalitarian society. For them, for the liberals, the principle of competition, the last paragraph, is the most just and efficient way of selecting candidates for jobs of admission. Or for that matter, when you talk about the uphold the principles of liberals, they talk about principle of competition as the most efficient and fair way. So according to them, whoever wins in a way, the another phrase which can be attached to is survival of the fittest. If you're fit to survive in the society, then you need to be part of this competition, irrespective of the what you call lack of resources you may have. So these both, the Marxism as well as liberalism, are in contrast over here. But anyway, these are the two major important theories which you need to deal with when you talk about social equality. Okay, now, if such inequalities exist in our society, how to address it or how to overcome it, or what are the measures which we can take in order to bring down this what you call disparity or inequality? Okay, now how to promote equality or how to address this? So here there is a suggestion like we can address this issue by three different ways. One is establishing formal equality. Now, what do you mean by formal equality? Everything going in a formal way, in an official manner. If it is an official manner, of course, it involves the role of state or the government, which is very crucial. So the first step towards bringing about equality is, of course, ending the formal system of inequality and privileges. Social and economic and political equalities all over the world have been protected by customs and legal system. So everything under this formal equality, there is a backing of the legal system or of the constitution or of the government. So for the one particular example provided over here is the caste system in India prevented people from the lower caste from doing anything except the manual labor. So that was broken down or that was addressed. And so that is one way of bringing in formal equality, forcefully doing it with the backing of the constitution and with the help of the government. Okay, so that is how the attainment of equality requires that all such restrictions or privileges should be brought to an end. So since many of these systems have the sanction of law, and equality requires that the government and the law of the land should stop protecting the system of inequality. So bringing down those inequalities with the legal support. That is one way of looking into it. Then moving further, equality through different treatment. As I said that, like the perfect example which I said in the beginning, wherein like three boys are attempting to watch a match. At that point, we saw that how we treated them differently by providing a support of different heights so that they can climb over it and watch the match. So here, the best example is like how we, when you, in the schools, especially the schools in these days, if they want to get a sanction from the government, then certain parameter has to be met in the school. For that matter, if it is a school or of any building, there should be a ramp in the building so that people of differently abled, if they are in a wheelchair or something like that, so they easy access to them should be there in the building. If you go to any mall in these days, you may find that there would be a separate restroom for them for disabled people. So these are the way how we look into how we are addressing this in differently abled people, how we are giving differential treatment. So that is also important. We are in a society wherein, like, we talk about inclusive society, wherein we are trying to include all of these people. So this is very important. So treating them differently. Through that, we can address the problem issues of equality, or we can bring in equality. Okay, there is another cartoon here. This is a perfect example to show how we can. Now, do you find this to be fair or not? See, there is an examination which all of these animals needs to go through, and the examiner is nothing but they need to climb the tree. So how among these animals, it's only the monkey who can climb over it, or maybe birds can fly and reach the top of the tree. So is it a fair or not? So that is why we need to have this differential treatment in the society. And then finally, the final approach is by looking into the affirmative action. Now, there are certain things in the society wherein, like, just by giving the formal equality or just by differentially treating them is not just enough. There are certain things which need to be very affirmative, needs to be very very strictly need to be followed. For that matter, this is like, for example, if you just look into the perfect example wherein, like in our country, how are we looking into the minority rights? That is a perfect example. Like when you talk about equality, when you talk about providing them everything with equally, that just not enough. So for that matter, there are certain communities or there are sections in the society we need a different or a special treatment or special care. So for that matter, scholarship and hostels to special consideration for admissions to educational institutions and jobs. So in our country, we have adopted a policy of quotas or reserved seats in education and jobs to provide equality or opportunity to deprived groups. And this has been the subject of considerable debate and disagreement. Now, this is a hot, a hot cake in society every time. Like when we talk about reservation of seats, whether it's needed or not, why it is needed. So when we started off with our constitution, we very clearly saw that reservation of seats is something which is goes against the policy or a principle or philosophy of equality. But still, we were very adamant to go along with this reservation policy. Why? The reasons are something which we discussed just now. But even when we adopted the policy of reservation, we were very clear about the time bound. Now, there should be a time, there should be a period wherein, like, if all these sections of the society achieve the same uh, level, or we achieve that equality, then these needs to be taken back. So a reservation of seats is not a fundamental right in our constitution, but that is a part of the constitution wherein it is a tool to ensure that egalitarian society, or a tool to ensure that we are achieving that equality in the society. So this is a topic to be debated a lot, whether reservations are needed or not. So again, the constitution makers were very clear that this needs to be taken back. For that matter, the role of the state is very important. That they need to be very clear that when it has to be taken back, it has to be taken back at a point wherein we achieve that egalitarian society. Of course, it's an utopian idea to have an egalitarian society, but at least that disparity between the rich and the poor, between the able and the disabled, should be minimized. At least there should be what do you call it, like a justifiable differences. That is okay, but beyond that needs to be addressed. That differences includes this what do you call the caste discrimination, the economic disparity, all of these. Okay. So finally, we are coming to an end to this particular chapter by claiming that. So as we deliberate on issues of equality and examine whether different treatment is warranted in a particular case, we need continuously to ask ourselves whether differential treatment is essential to ensure the set of people can enjoy the same right as the rest of the society. So when we begin the chapter by saying that all people need to be treated equally, and then after analyzing through the various dimensions of equality, and after looking through detail to all of these, we are coming to a conclusion by saying that equal treatment is just not enough, or in other way, equal treatment would not be a just it won't lead to a just society. Okay, so having a quick recap of this chapter, we started off with what is equality, what is the necessity of bringing in an egalitarian society, how can we address the issue by looking into equal opportunities, or by looking into natural and social inequality. Then we looked into the various dimensions of equality, which is political, social, and economic, and then how various theories actually look upon it. I'm sorry, I left out through other main theories, which is like feminism and also socialism. Feminism is again like that is a doctrine or a philosophy which is attempted to attain gender equality. And when it comes to socialism, that is again another political idea which aims for an egalitarian society. So in the past, like if you look into the history, there are a number of examples wherein some of these theories was a total failure, some of them succeeded. So every time we are looking upon to all of these theories, so that like we are in a way looking into all of these things in order to attain a peaceful society, a harmonious society. Okay, so with that, we are coming to this particular chapter as well. Welcome back, all. And now, finally, we are into the last chapter for the day, which is social justice. So, I'm repeating what I said from the beginning. I feel very familiar that I believe that you are very familiar with all these terms. But in order to just look into it, it's like something which we discussed before. When you talk about equality and social justice, they are the two sides of the same coin, and we can approach with the same way how we approached with this concept of equality. Now when it comes to social justice, I'm sharing what is there in the textbook. This is help you to get a what you call how to approach to such topics. So if you just look into the objective of this chapter, first of all, it is to identify some of the principles of justice which have been put forward in different societies and at different periods of time. And then explain what is meant by distributive justice. And then discuss John Rawls' argument that a fair and just society would be in the interest of all members and could be defended on rational grounds. So it is in the same way. First of all, we begin by answering the question, what is justice, or what do you mean by justice? So again, just like how we looked into freedom, how we looked into equality, in justice also, we are trying to go through the various personalities or how they have addressed this concept of justice. And it dates back to the ancient time onwards. Now, in the ancient society, if you have, when we look into the Indian history, you may find this justice with the term dharma. Or if you just look into the philosophy of Buddhism, Jainism, or if you just look into the what do you call, the teachings of the well-known people like Confucius or of like Plato, all of them have referred to this concept, social justice, and they all have reinformed that like this is an essential part of any society in order to find a peaceful or a society where everyone can be in a harmony, then definitely social justice needs to be maintained. So going through some of these people, for instance, in ancient Indian society, justice was associated with dharma, and maintaining dharma as a just social order was considered to be a primary duty of kings. In China, Confucius, the famous philosopher, argued that, according to him, dharma is nothing but considered the primary duty of kings. Argued that kings should maintain justice by punishing wrongdoers and rewarding the virtuous. That is how it has been treated in China. So in 4th century, in Athens, Plato discussed issues of justice in his book, The Republic. Through a long dialogue between Socrates and his young friends, Glaucon and Eudematus, Plato examined why should be concerned about justice. So according to him, the young people asked Socrates, why should we should be just? They observed that people who were unjust seemed to be much better off than those who were just. This is a common question asked among the youngsters. It's not even in the ancient period, even in present day also. This is what the young people do. This has been mentioned in one of the movies of Vinay Srinivasan also. Why do we need to be just? When the injustice people in the society are easily been getting away with all the wrongdoings. So to which there is it has been well defined over here. If you just check, you may find those who twisted rules to serve their interests avoided paying taxes. Paying taxes and were willing to lie and be deceitful were often more successful than those who were truthful and just. So if one were smart enough to avoid being caught, then it would seem that being just unjust is better than being just. So you may have heard people expressing similar sentiments even today, right? So by end of this chapter, this will remind you that the importance of being just. It is another way, the responsibility of us to be just by again, as we have looked into the chapter equality, there are in number of inequalities in our society. In the same manner, there are in number of examples which shows that how unjust is our society. We have two options: just by shutting our eyes, we can be away from all of these. We can be can remain in the society without bothering these things. But the second step is by looking into it, by addressing into it, we can bring down the injustice in the society. So that is what being mentioned over here as well. Now, look into it over here, the last paragraph. Socrates clarified that we need to understand clearly that justice means in order to figure out why it is important to be just. So he explained that justice does not only mean doing good to our friends and harm to our enemies or pursuing our own interest. Justice involves the well-being of all people. Just as a doctor is concerned with the well-being of his or her patients, similarly, the just ruler or the just government must be concerned with the well-being of the people. Ensuring the well-being of the people includes giving each person his due. So this is a responsibility upon each and every citizen. We do owe a certain role in the society. So we are concluding the concept of justice by looking into what the Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, has to say about it. Now, the last paragraph over there, the last sentence over there, according to German philosopher, or if all persons are granted dignity, then what is due to each of them is that they have the opportunity to develop their talents and pursue their chosen goals. So justice requires that we give due and equal consideration to all individuals. So ultimately, if you want to be succeeded, if you want to be in a position wherein you can go after your goals or aspirations, we need to achieve all of this: the freedom, the equality, and then justice. Okay, so then, just like we looked into the other concept, that is equality, how are we looking into? Is it by giving equal treatment for equals? That is the first thing which you are looking into. Will it that help to achieve a just society? Let's find out. Now, just like we have looked into, there are a number of different principles which have been put forward in this regard. One is by treating equals equally. So it is considered that all individuals share certain characteristics as human beings, right? So therefore, they deserve equal rights and equal treatment, which is very important. Now, this has to be taken into care. We all need to be treated equally. Some of the important rights which are granted in most liberal democracies today include civil rights, just like how we looked into the political rights. In the same manner, we all need to be given with all of these rights to life, liberty, property, political rights like right to vote, which enable people to participate in political processes. Okay, so that is how to address this, by equally treating them equally. And then, apart from treating them equally, we also need to look into the principle of treating equals equally would require that people should not be discriminated against on the grounds of class, caste, race, or gender. That is another thing. Something which we saw similarly, the same thing which we saw in the previous chapter. They should not be discriminated on the basis of these grounds. Then, this is how we address how to treat them equally. Then, moving further, how to address, or how are we able to bring in this equality? Now, first is like treating them equally, and then another one is proportionate justice. So here, as we saw, this is as the name indicates, here the people are not treated equally. Here we are trying to bring another approach wherein, like, there would be some differences how we treat people in the society. For that matter, for instance, for that matter, like, if there is an exam is being conducted in the school, or if there is a if you take in your office, any government office, now there would be people in different position, like just like there would be in class after an examination, there would be students getting different marks for what they wrote in the examination. So if you have to go with the policy like equal treatment for equals, then it would be a situation wherein, like, we'll be providing equal marks for all the students. And in the same manner, in the government office also, we'll be giving equal salary to all the positions, whether it is clerk or head clerk or superintendent or the officer. Giving them equal salary will not meet this purpose. So there is a difference. Here, in such circumstances, we need to take proportionate justice. For the work, what they are doing, they should be treated in that. They should be awarded. It's not just treated. They should be awarded, or they should be treated according to their requirements or the skills they have shown over here. So towards the end of this particular paragraph, there is a example provided over there. For instance, miners and skilled craftsmen, or people, for that matter, over here. For instance, they people in sometimes dangerous but socially useful professions like policemen may not always get a reward which is just like if we compare it to what some others in the society may be earning. So for justice in society, the principle of equal treatment needs to be balanced with the principle of proportionality. So this is another way of looking into social justice. Okay, so everything is in the same way as we have looked into in the previous chapter. Then, this is another way of looking into it: recognition of special needs. Just like we looked into how people are treated equally, or when you talked about equality, we looked into how differently able people are treated, differential approach. In the same manner, here also we are looking into the special needs, or recognizing the special needs. As the perfect example which I brought in the previous chapter also, how are we going to treat the people like who are differently able, or who are not or who are less privileged in the society? For them, definitely we need to have a look into a different manner. We need to address the special needs. So the principle of taking account over here it is. So the principle of taking account of the special needs of people does not necessarily contradict the principle of equal treatment. So much as extent it becomes the principle of treating equals equally could imply that people who are not equal in certain important respects could be treated differently. So there are people with special needs. People with special needs or disabilities could be considered unequal in some particular respect and deserving of special help. So they need to be taken care differently. So for that matter, there are people who are facing difficulty with their resources, with the basic necessities. So all of them need to be taken care. Therefore, them it has to be recognized. There could be physical disabilities. There could be lack of good education. There could be lack of good health care. And some factors are considered grounds for special treatment in many countries. So that is how the country develops, by addressing into all of these. So you may find that like that's treated. So the people of those who enjoy different standard and living opportunities are treated equally in all respect with those who have been deprived of even the basic minimum need to live a healthy and productive life. That is so unfair. That is so injustice, right? So treating people at the same manner, wherein some are highly privileged and others are not. So by understanding these various dimensions of social justice, the next question is how can we achieve it, or how can you think of how can you bring in a just distribution wherein all of them will be treated equally? That is the next topic over here. So while addressing this just distribution, just as like the fair distribution. So it's very important to look into that how the state interferes into it, how the state takes up the role, just like we discussed in equality, wherein like how the government or the role of the government is so crucial. The backing of the constitution is also very crucial. So in order to bring in a just society, sometimes the constitution or the government needs to take harsh decisions, or sometimes they need to be very affirm about their decisions for in matter with regarding to abolishing certain ill practices in the society, or bringing down the differences in the society, or taking up the decisions like being a secular country. All of these are very important when it comes to when you think about a just distribution. Okay, now again, there is another tool to bring in a just society or a social justice in the society by looking into one perfect example of John Rawls' theory of justice. This is quite a famous one, wherein John Rawls is really asking us to go through an exercise, or go through an experience wherein like we can bring out a just society. And now, in order to bring a just society, John Rawls is advocating us to take up any role in the society by wearing a veil of ignorance. This is his theory, veil of ignorance. Now, this is a perfect example, or a perfect experiment through which we can achieve this social justice. This is just by what he is advocating is to take up any role in the society by wearing a veil of ignorance, and think of a just society, or think of a society, or think of a policies, or think of rules and regulations which can be implemented in the society, forgetting your own position, forgetting that you are a privileged person, forgetting that you come from a very poor background, forgetting your gender, whether you're male or female, or forgetting all such things. You are ignorant about your position or about your uh, existence in the society. And then you are trying to frame a fair society, a just society, and then bring out rules and regulations which would be applicable to all in the society, which will bring goodwill to all in the society. So this is a perfect experiment, which is talks about coming out with a just society. So what is being expected over here is that by wearing the veil of ignorance, he expects that in such a situation of complete ignorance about our possible position and status in society, each person would decide in the way they generally do, that is, in terms of their own interest. But since no one knows who he would be and what is going to benefit him, each will envisage the future society from the point of view of the worst off. So, definitely, if we take the position of veil of ignorance, definitely we will come out with a just society which will be beneficial to the person who is having the worst position in the society. That is how we can bring in a just society. So often he advocates that the rulers of the country or the politicians or the ones who are who are said to be the leaders of the society, they often needs to take up this position of veil of ignorance. So if you take up that position, then definitely the end result would be that in future, each will seek rules and that protect them in case they happen to be born among the worst of. That is a key point over there. But it would make sense if they also try to ensure that their chosen policy does not also make those who are better off weaker. That is also important. We are not just thinking about the worst of in the society. We also need to be considered about the better off, because it is all possible that they could be born into a privileged position in the future society. So that is the beauty behind the veil of ignorance, that you need to think about the well-off in the society as well as the worst off in the society. Okay, now moving further, the next major question is like how to pursue the social justice. Again, I'm going back to our previous chapter wherein like we addressed the concept of equality by looking into the various theories like Marxism, liberalism and all. So here also, when you talk about pursuing social justice, how is it possible? When you just these are possible by looking into the political aspect of social justice, the economic aspect of social justice, the social aspect of social justice. When you look into the social aspect, we definitely looked at that these are the certain things we need to get rid of the ill practices in the society, so that we can be in a better society or in a just social society. Then by looking into the political aspect, all should be given with the proper rights in the society, proper social rights in the society, so that each person do have the opportunity to be a better person in the society. So here there are a few examples how we can address this by looking into the second paragraph over here. So varied methods of calculating the basic needs of people. So providing them with the basic needs. Various methods of calculating the basic needs of the people have been devised by different governments and by international organizations like WHO. But in general, it is agreed that the basic amount of nourishment needed to remain healthy, housing, supply of clean drinking water, education, and minimum wage would constitute an important part of these basic conditions. So these needs to be met in any society in order to claim it to be a social justice or a social society. Okay, so that is one parameter which needs to be looked into. Then another major conflict coming over here is that this is again debatable. This is again like how do we look up into this concept of social justice? It's nothing but looking into these two different aspects: free market versus state intervention. Again, taking back to the previous chapter, equality, wherein we looked into the two conflicting ideas of Marxism and liberalism. Here also, the same manner, free market is nothing but liberalism, state intervention is nothing but Marxism. So how can we achieve when we are in this mid of this, whether to go with free market or state intervention? Where can we have the social justice if we are got confused with the free markets or state intervention? Now, free market advocates that, just like liberalism, wherein survival of the fittest, it's everything open over here. It's an open market. Whoever is capable of doing business over here will win, or they will be the most benefited in the society. On the other hand, the state intervention is nothing but the concept of socialism or the concept of Marxism, just like Karl Marx advocated that if you want to achieve an egalitarian society, then definitely a state intervention, the government should be interfering into it, wherein in order to ensure that the weaker section of the society is also getting benefit out of it. They should be looked into, they should be taken care into. So for that matter, that is what the perfect example to look into free market and state intervention is that, like, what happened to the world soon after or during the Cold War or soon after the Second World War is like the entire world got divided into these two concepts: free market and then state intervention. And then and it had its consequences also. The result was something else, but still um, we can, by looking into that particular scenario, we get a clear idea what are the benefits of free market or what are the benefits of state intervention. So this is very critical, very crucial, so that we have in order to have a just society, also in order to attain social justice, it's very important to understand the differences or understand the importance of state intervention and as well as free market in order to achieve a development or in order to boost up the economy. Definitely for free market is important, but how to address it through the eyes of just society, or how to tackle it with the state intervention is something for us to decide upon. Okay, so with that, I'm coming and we're coming to an end to this particular chapter as well. So again, going through a quick recap of what we did in social justice. We began with addressing the question like, what is justice? Again, similar to all the other chapters, we looked into various people's perspective about social justice, and then we are getting an idea about like what is the importance of social justice, then how to achieve social justice by addressing the various aspects of social justice, the political, economic, and uh, social justice. And then we are looking into the importance of proportionate justice, recognizing the special needs. And then when you talk about this, it's very crucial to look into the John Rawls theory of justice, which is nothing but the veil of ignorance, how to take up a position of the worst off in the society and think about a social justice or a just society, and then addressing the issues of liberalism and state intervention, free market and state intervention. So these are various things through which you need to go through in this particular topic. With that, we are coming to an end to all the three chapters, beginning from freedom, equality, and social justice.